We start the recording. Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP Fiori Launchpad training with Web IDE. In the last class, we discussed about how to create a post operation using XCSRF token into the gateway server and create a custom Fiori app which can create post request. Oops. Request you to please mute your line. Thank you. And we also tried out to deploy our custom Fiori app into SAP Fiori Launchpad in our server, and then we saw it was not really working out. So let's go back and look at that issue first, and then we will move on to the additional topics like how to make use of Eclipse for the development, how to copy the OData service from one system to another system if at all you have to do so, and we'll also talk about Git repository in today's class. If the time permits, I will explain about basics of SAP workflow so that I can prepare the background for you for the next session on workflow with Fiori. So let me just get started. So far in the last class, what we actually did, guys, is we have created a custom Fiori app making a request to an OData service which was also created as a custom OData service. And then later point of time, we have deployed this application in SAP backend server by using the program /UI5/UI5_repository_load. Towards the end of the session, we have gone ahead and created LPD cust entry. I'm not showing anything on my screen. It is stand still, right? I'm not showing right now anything. And then later point of time, we have created a launchpad entry as a custom tile into Fiori app and also created a target mapping for the custom tag name. But when we were trying to open the application, we saw it was throwing some abrupt error from the launchpad. So we will explore what is the issue with that application now, and we will also look at how to solve that issue related to our application. Yeah. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Let me just go back to SAP Fiori Launchpad. So I go to my SAP Fiori Launchpad where we have already deployed this Fiori application. So I launch this SAP Fiori Launchpad and enter my user credentials. In this SAP Fiori Launchpad, we have created a custom tile for our app. And if I just quickly show you in the backend system, we have deployed our application from SAP Web IDE. So if I go and connect to this S4HANA system and connect with my user and show you SEAT transaction where we deployed our app into my local object. So in the BSP library, I created this application. Now you also remember I was trying to create a application with lower version of UI5 and deploy it. But later on towards the end of the class, we found out the version in SAP system is already updated. 1.36 is what we have. So this app should still work. Yeah, this app should still work. So let's go back. And now I have deployed this app as my products. So let me show you. Here it was. When I click on this app, there was an error coming. Could not open app. Please try again later. This is what was I was getting through it in the last class. Okay. Now we will fix this issue. So first of all, we need to analyze what is the problem. So just press F12 and see what is the error when it is coming when you're clicking on the app. Okay. So let's come back and click on this app tile and see what happens in the console. So I click on this and you see there is an error coming, failed to load UI5 component with property. F120, name is F120. The application F20 has error, will possibly be running into not run properly. Okay. Now the root cause for this issue is the specified component controller F20.component could not be found. This is the cause of the error. Now let's go back and check where exactly we have provided this F120. Actually, I have provided this value in the Launchpad Designer while doing the target mapping for our app. So let me open the Launchpad Designer for this. So I'll go for the Launchpad Designer for this system and show you where we created the target mapping. So we created Z custom catalog. In this catalog, we created the tile, a custom Fiori app tile, and in the target mapping, we have defined the relationship of this with the semantic object and the system, or basically the URL of the app. So if I go to the configure, you can see I have given here the ID as F120. And this is what it is showing actually in the error in the console. So this is the culprit. Now actually I have given here some ID which is not right. This should be the ID of your component, guys. But I have assigned, I thought that it should be Fiori app ID. So that is what my mistake was. It took me a lot of time to explore this problem. But how did I come to this problem is because I saw in the console there was something called F120. And then I started looking at my application in detail. Where did I give F120? Okay. Where did I give this? And then finally I realized I've given it in the ID. And then when I checked the documentation for this ID, or I also checked a standard SAP Fiori target mapping. Let me show you. I'll go to one of the HCM application and I see the target mapping for that HCM application. So let me go to target mapping for HCM application. So one of the HCM application, let's say display fact sheet, click on configure. And you can see here they have given some ID. It's not the Fiori app ID. Instead, it's the ID of component.js. Okay. If you want to really cross check this, you can copy this application name, come to your backend system and search for the BSP application over here. BSP application as this one. When you expand this and find component.js, you can see the ID which is given for component.js. The namespace is hcm.emp.ops1. And that's what exactly they have specified over here as well. So it's not the ID of Fiori app unique identifier. Instead, it's the ID of the component.js, or it's the namespace ID. So that was the mistake. So let me just rectify my mistake now. Indeed, it took some time for me to also find out, guys, this problem. So a lot of things are not straightforward. Even for me also it takes time, yeah, to understand. But just by going the concept, I understood it right, and then I will correct this ID now. So let's go back to our application and see what was the ID for our component.js. So I go to local object, click on display for local objects, and then look at the BSP application, what we have here. And now in this, you can see the ID for our component is this. This is the ID. I don't know X499 where it has come from. I think I should delete it. I was trying something, so maybe I put it by mistake. I should remove this and save this. So that's my component.js. So I copy this component.js namespace now and map it over here in the ID. That's it. That's it, guys. Click on save button. We are done. Rest all the LPD transaction entries and stuff, all the other stuff should remain same. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Come back to your launchpad and refresh the page now. Let's try it out. What happens now? So it's now trying to load the application. So it will load the whole launchpad. It takes a little while, guys, because I have been given in this system all the roles, hence all the catalogs and groups will get loaded for my launchpad. That's why it takes some time for it to load. Okay, cool. Now maybe I close the console and search for my custom app, which is my products, and I can see it here, my products. Let's click on the tile and see what happens. And finally, I can see my custom Fiori app is live for my business users. So we saw an end-to-end scenario of creating a custom Fiori app with a post operation into the system, and then we saw deploying the application into the BAP system. We saw two techniques. One was using directly web IDE. Another technique was using report /UI5/UI5 underscore repository load. And then we saw configuring a tile, custom tile for this custom Fiori app, an end-to-end scenario. And now it's a general practice. You can simply go to your web IDE, and then from there, you can always make the change to your Fiori app, whatever Fiori app you have. You can always make a change, right click on this and say deploy in a BAP repository system. And then the changes will come. Let me show you one small change. Probably we will add a button control. So we come back here, maybe we will add a button control here in the second icon tab filter. So after that, it's a usual development. So let's come to the detail view where we have our icon tab filter. So here is our icon tab filter. It consists of two icon tab filters. So this is the second one. In this second icon tab filter, I'm going to add content. And now in this, I will be adding a button control, or maybe we can add a switch control, and click on save. Now right click on the app and say deploy. Deploy to SAP UI5 repository. And it's asking me the server password now. Click on login. And I want to update my existing application now. I made one change, I want to update that. Let's find the app name. Z Custom Fiori app. Click on next, finish. It will update your app into the ABAP system now. It's just giving information that what are all the files which will get updated. See, you can see right now I'm editing this file, so it has given me an error. Let me just go back. See, am I really editing? See, I am in edit mode. Let me come to display mode and redeploy the change. Right click, deploy, ABAP repository. Once again, update an existing application, and it's going to be Z custom. Select it, next, and say finish. Pretty easy process for anybody to deploy an app. You can see this app is getting deployed. Done. The app has been deployed successfully. Okay. So this is how we can deploy an end-to-end or build an end-to-end custom Fiori app with our local web IDE using a template and enhance it. Let's come back and test whether it has got the switch control in next icon tab filter or not. So just come back and refresh the page. You can see the tag name is Anubhav-Spiderman. Yeah, that's the tag name. So I come and select one, and you can see there's this nice switch control which is now available for me to switch in second icon tab filter. So that's how you can have a usual development from here onwards. Yeah. Now Charu has a question. Sometimes we need to specify launchpad role also in target mapping. I am not aware of that, Charu, whether we have to specify the launchpad role in the target mapping. We don't need to actually. The catalog and the group, we create a role in PFCG transaction, and that we have already assigned in the last class. So what we did is we created a PFCG role. Let me show you. It was pretty faster. I covered it very fast actually in the last class towards the end. We created this custom role, and here we have assigned the access for our OData service and this catalog, custom catalog and custom group. This is what we did. That's it. And then we assign this to our user. Yeah. Now let me show you the magic. If I just remove this user from here and save this role, now the user will not have an access to this Fiori app. So if you just come back to the home page and refresh, this user will not see the tile anymore. because it's automatically controlled. We have taken out the access for him to look at the catalog and the group. And once that access has been taken out of the user can't really see the tile. This is so easy to control now. If you see, we have taken out just now the access from the Z role for the user, and let the launchpad load. I will show you whether we will be able to find our app or not. So I just do a control F one more time on this and try to see my products. You see there are no hits. The app is no more visible. So that's how you control the access for your Fiori applications to the user. It's completely role based. It's completely role based. And that role is controlled by catalog and groups, adding into a PFCG role, and that PFCG role is then assigned to a business user. We know that from standard also, but now we did everything end-to-end custom. Okay. Now there was one more question. Let me check. Should we deploy first once, then keep on updating in the real-time project also? No. So typically in a real-time project, what is the scenario? Whenever you say real-time, you will not have your production and development system as one system. Typically you will have something called a development system. Then you have a test system. A test system can also be the same system but a different client. Okay. And typically the companies do have separate test systems. And then finally you have the production system where users are using this. Any ABAP program or any life cycle of SAP related artifacts goes in the same fashion. So whenever you're working, you are always working with development system. You're modifying a program, you're writing a UI program, you're creating your roles. Yeah, all the artifacts you are working here in the development system. So this is your Fiori app here. And you are accessing this Fiori app, which is there in your development systems through SAP Web IDE. Yeah. So here you have your SAP Web IDE installed in your computer. And then you are talking to this Fiori app, you're deploying and checking out this Fiori app changes into and from server. If at all you want to release this for productive purpose to your end users, what is that you have to do? Anybody? If at all you want to create a ABAP module pool program which you want to release to your end user, what is that you do? What is that you do? You need to lock it in a transport. Perfect. You need to lock it in a transport. You need to transport the object. So you will deploy this Z app into a productive package, and then you will lock it in a transport request. And once the transport request is released from the system, you are going to test it in the test system. And after some time, this transport reaches to the production system after you further release it. And here your business user is using it. Now imagine if you have one same system which is used for development production, the moment you activate a change, your business user gets impacted immediately. And by any chance you did a mistake in that activation, by mistake you have done some problems, there's a calculation problem or there is a business logic problem. Since your end user is connected to the same system, immediately the users will get affected. That's why we always have a dev, Q, and P systems. We always test our changes in test system and then we release it to production. It never directly goes with production. Never ever. Never ever, guys. Never ever. Now, there is more refined process to this. I'll tell you what is more refined. Why I explained this, because there is more to it. There is one more refined process. What is the refined process? Imagine there are multiple developers. So it's not like you are the only one who is working in a company. There is a team of, let's say, 2 people or 5 people or 10 people working on the same project. Okay. So let's say there is a team of 5 people working on the same project. Now, when you are working with the same project, you need to synchronize your code. Suppose my colleague Rahul is working also on the same project and Rahul has made one change. How will I know that he has made one change? At the same time, if I made a change, how will Rahul know? And more bigger your team becomes, more and more problems you will get into. It becomes difficult to communicate because you cannot send every single change to your team member on the team distribution list through the mail. Then your team member, anybody made a change, the whole day will go into just adjusting the changes of each other. Yeah, that is the reason we use something called repository. A repository is a place where we actually deploy our app so that all the developers in a team can access it. And typically for any JavaScript type of application or web-based application, we use something called Git repository. It's called Git repository. So what is a Git repository? It's a place where we are able to store all our projects centrally, and all the developers can then check in and check out the codes and the artifacts. Okay. Now Git repository also tracks the version of your changes. So at any given point of time, if you have done some terrible mistake which is affecting lot more problems, then you can roll it back, because it also gives you a very nice version control. And why we use Git repository is because it's a distributed repository system. What is distributed repository system? A Git repository consists of a Git server and a Git client. Now, every time you create a repository, system also creates a local repository for you. So imagine a case, I have a Git server created in my company, common to everyone. Yeah, common to every developer. And here I have created my project. I just have to initialize my project for the first time. So I created my project here. This is my project. Now what developer can do is they can do a checkout. What does the checkout means? When a developer does a checkout of the project, system would take this project and it will initialize a local repository in the user's computer. So user using a computer, in this computer a local repository will be created, local Git repository will be created. And what system does, what Git does is, it brings all the changes. The moment you do checkout, it brings all the changes from the Git server to the local Git repository, to the local system. Okay. So it gets all the changes to the local system. This is called checkout, or it is also known as pull. So when you pull it, it brings all the changes of your project into local repository. Now in this local repository, you can make your changes. And then, so basically you are using WebIDE or Eclipse. So you are using a development tool. You're not talking to the repository directly. Talking to this local repository is done by your development tool, which is nothing but your WebIDE or Eclipse, whichever development tool you are using. You don't know how to talk to this local repository. These tools know. So Eclipse or WebIDE talks to this local repository. And this local repository gets initialized the moment you do your first pull. System initializes a local repository. And it also creates a branch. What is a branch? Branch is nothing but it's a sequence of changes where you commit to a local repository. So today you made one change at 2 o'clock. At 5 o'clock you made one change. At 7 o'clock you made one change. So all three changes, how do you track them? And how do you can switch between these different stable states of your software? It can be managed by branch. So you can also have parallel development done in parallel branches. This is also possible with Git. That's why it's the most widely used repository system. You can have parallel branches also. You can have one branch also. In that you can make multiple changes. And once you feel all the changes which you made are sufficient enough, you can push these changes once for all to the actual server. So this is called push operation. Push operation means you are making your changes made available to everybody who has access to the central server. So you're doing a push. And if you want to save the intermediate state of your changes, logical close, that is known as commit. So commit means whenever you do a commit, it's saving in the local Git repository, not in the actual server. When you do commit and push, whatever changes you're doing is then available to all the users, all the developers. So this is how Git works. So you do a checkout, you make the change, you make a commit stores in the local changes into local repository. And once you feel all the stable states, let's say I did 3 commits at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, I decide whatever change I did at 4 o'clock is not relevant. I remove them. They got removed from local repository. And now I see whatever I did 2 and 3 o'clock, that should go into the server. I can do a push for those two changes, and then it creates further nodes of changes, or it's called as further push for the changes into the server. And then other users who are working, your teammates, your colleagues, they can all see what changes has been done by whom. Okay, they can see, and they can also do a checkout or pull when they are pulling. Okay, now imagine a user A. This user has made a change. Imagine user Anubhav, and Anubhav has made a change in file A. Okay, Anubhav has made a change in file A in the project. Now what Anubhav does is Anubhav is do a commit and then Anubhav do a push. Now imagine another user called Rashi, and she is also doing change in file A. Now both the user has started changing in file A together. They both checked out from the server. Okay, now Anubhav has finished the changes and quickly did a push. At the same time, Rashi is also making the change into the same file. Now Rashi does a commit. The commit goes successful because it's always in the local repository. But the moment Rashi tries to do a push, before that Anubhav has already done one push to the same file, Rashi will not be allowed. Rashi will get a prompt saying that changes cannot be pushed, resolve the conflicts. Do you want to open merge tool? That's what system says. So what happened is there is one user who's made one change into a file and pushed it already to the server. At the same time, another user was editing the same file and now trying to make his changes on top of it. But server sees there was a change done by user one already. Now Rashi has to rebase. Rebase means whatever changes has been done while she was changing in the local computer and on the server somebody pushed and went off, whatever changes have been done, these two changes has to be merged together with her local changes, and that's called rebase. Rebase means I want to pull the changes from the server and then check where are the conflicts is and can I somehow merge all the changes which has been recently pushed to the server and I was not aware of. So these are all some terms which we use in Git. So hope you all know now what is commit, what is checkout, what is push, what is rebase, yeah, and then you have a conflict resolution. So all that we will see now in a Git repository. So we will set up our first Git repository and we will update something into it, maybe a UI5 project, and then we will check out that into Web IDE and Eclipse both. Yeah. So the best tool to use with Git is Eclipse tool. Web IDE is still not that mature to use Git repository. Now, why we use Git? We saw the couple of advantage. One is versioning. Another is it's a distributed repository system. You can have local version as many as you want. And then third is you don't have any communication gap. Fourth thing, it helps you to resolve the conflicts of the changes. Fifth thing, it also tracks who has made one change at what time. This is also important, right? Imagine I am a team lead and I have a team of 3 people, out of which there are 2 people who are fighting with each other. They have a great fight. They don't talk to each other. They are having fight. Now one user is a malicious guy. He want to make, he want to somehow project the another user is not good. and another user want to do the same. They want to do a blame game on each other. Now, if I don't have a Git repository, the user one can make one change and disrupt my project and say in the meeting the user two has done that, right? But if I have a Git repository which keeps track of the changes of every user, I can easily know who has done what changes at what time automatically. And I can also discard the changes if I like. These are all the power of Git repositories. That's why it's widely used. And on the day of delivery, what I do is I just take the project from the Git finally, and then I deploy it into the ABAP server and lock it in a transport and release. I don't do this for every single change. Every single change which is done by my developer goes to Git repository. And on the day of finalizing my development, let's say I am in going into a development cycle of 1 month. So for entire 1 month, all the changes are done to the Git only. All the changes are done and pushed to the Git repository. At the end of the month, I review the changes. I review the application. And if I like it good, I can take out this application from the Git, and then I can finally do a /UI5/UI5 repository load and deploy this into my ABAP server development system and release my transport. So this way I have just one single transport keeping all my development changes, and it reaches to the production system. Till then, all the versions and all the tracking and all the other sharing of the file changes, everything is done by Git. So that's why we use Git server in real-time projects. So people are confused. Can your app run from Git? No. Your OData service is not present in the Git. It is present into development system. Users cannot access the application from Git. Users will access it in the production system from Launchpad. It has to reach, the code has to reach, guys. Yeah, that's important. Hence, till the development is closed, till the changes are finalized, you always work with Git. And once your development close happens, you are going to take out the project one day and upload it into the app system. That is how you are going to manage a real-time project. Okay, great. So let's get started. We will now first see how to use Eclipse now to use a project. So some of the companies is still not using WebIDE. Okay, some of the companies, it's always recommended to use WebIDE, but some people do have their other choices. Somebody would like to work with Eclipse. Now believe me, I don't know, only for extensibility scenarios I use WebIDE. I still use this Eclipse, guys, for my personal development. Wherever I go to any company for any development artifacts, I use Eclipse because I like Eclipse. It's rich. It's better than WebIDE. I feel it better than WebIDE. I'm used to it. I don't use WebIDE. I use WebIDE only when we have extensibility scenarios, because that's when it gives me a nice extensibility pane which helps me to quickly do the modeling of my changes. Other than that, I use Eclipse because Eclipse also provides me Maven support. Maven is also a really important part of development, because usually whenever I go to a company, they also have non-SAP development like core Java, J2EE based developments, yeah, some framework based developments. So all of that, even HANA based developments. So all of that can come together into a single place, which is your Eclipse. Eclipse can contain HANA Access project. It can contain SAP UI5 project. It can contain J2EE projects. It can contain Maven projects. So all type of projects, artifacts can come and sit on Eclipse. And together with all of that, I can do development. So that's why I personally feel Git is still better. So how to now use a project which you create from scratch into WebIDE into Eclipse. So let's create a project into WebIDE, and then we will see using that in Eclipse. So now before that, you need to also see what is the maximum version of UI5 library this Git supports. So come to help, install new software, and search for tools.git hana.ondemand.com/my Eclipse version, which is Kepler in this case. Scroll down, expand the UI5 development toolkit, and you see all items are already installed. Uncheck this checkbox, hide items for already installed. You will now see the versions of SAP UI5 library in the Eclipse, which means this is a Kepler version. It only supports maximum 1.28.9. So I am going to develop an app which is of this version. And indeed, I have a server, and this server also supports 1.28 only. So I'm talking about another server, not S4HANA, this one. So this server, let me just go to this server and show you the UI5 version. Anybody, how do you check the UI5 version into a server? Anybody? How do you check the version of SAP UI5 into server? Which service? Go to which service? SICF, okay. It's not UI to UI2, it's UI5 underscore UI5. So this is the server I have. I go for this, right click and test service. Let's see the version of it. Why it's not working? Do I need to click this one? Let's try this one. Yeah. Or we can, yes, of course, do Control Alt Shift P into SAP Fiori Launchpad. Yeah, it's loaded now. You can see it's 1.24 what it is supporting, this server. Okay. Okay, great. So this is what this server is supporting. We are going to use now that server and deploy a Fiori app into it by Eclipse. So let me create a project in Web IDE for the first time. I come here, right click and create a new project from template and choose version 1.24. Okay, 24 is not there. Maybe just to show you from Eclipse, guys, I will use 1.28 because 1.28 is also supported by my current Eclipse. Click on next. Project name is Eclipse demo. Click on next. Maybe I choose different template. We have already tried master detail. Let's use worklist application this time. Click on next. Eclipse demo. And now I will pick up a service from my server. So let me choose my ECC server and pick up a service from here. Maybe same service, or maybe let's see if I have some other service. Let's use simple sample EPM employee list service. Click on next. Employee list. Namespace I will give as IBM. Description employee app. Collection is employee set. The ID is key is ID, and then I probably use the name of the employee, first name, and then just use some more attributes like bank ID and the bank name. Say next. Finish. We have successfully created our first project. Now there's nothing wrong in using Web IDE for your end-to-end development. I personally recommend to you guys to use Web IDE only, because you don't get into any kind of CORS issue with this. With Eclipse, it's a problem. You got to do lot more things, which I will show you now right after this. To use this with Eclipse, you will get into problem, because here WebID gives you new app.json, and this new app.json has a capability to talk to the server. Yeah, it can talk to a destination, and then that destination talks to the actual server, which then helps you to avoid the cross origin resource sharing issue. because web ID use a dispatcher. We talked about it already to avoid CORS issues. But for Eclipse, you got to do little bit more to achieve that. So it has a seamless integration with your server and you can really test with your live data from the server. So let's choose run, right click run on with the server. It's asking me the password. And now you can see it has loaded all the data for the employee, different employee data. Yeah. So that's a work list type of template. Now, how can I make the same app work with my Eclipse? How to do that? So let's right click here and say export. Okay, I'm just doing an export of this app. You can see it has created an export file. I go to the folder where the file has been created. I do have some other things. I just delete them. Right click and extract to a folder. And you can see it has got the web app folder now. And these are all my artifacts. Now to create a project in Eclipse, we will go back to Eclipse and create a new project here of type SAP UI5 application project. Let's give a name to it. Z employee list. I will not create any view for this and click on finish. You can see it has got created an index HTML also. Now just to test it, everything goes good. I just do a quick test for this sample Fiori app and see if it displays me the page or not. Yeah, just to test it. So let's create an app object in this index HTML and print it. So new sap.m.app object, and we are going to give a title, I guess. Let's see the properties here. There's no property. I think we didn't create a view, that's why. Yeah, so no problem. We can just create new sap.m.button text welcome. Okay, it's a property. I'm forgetting the first course, guys. Whatever we learned in the first course, I'm forgetting that slowly. Place at content. That's what we did in the first course. Let's save this and see this Fiori app running into the browser, whether we get a button on the screen. Yes, I do remember the first course. Good. So that's how we create our basic Fiori app. Yeah. Now this index HTML will be the starting point for your app to launch. But whatever you got from web ID now, you got to bring in here. So control C from web app folder and paste it into web content folder now. So you've got all your artifacts including component.js over here. Yeah, you got all the artifacts. But now anybody in the first course, in order to run the component.js, in order to test the component.js, what is that we used in index.html file? Anybody? If you remember our component.js chapter, what is that which we use? Which control do you use to show component.js? No. UI component is used to define component.js. When you define component.js, you use SAP UI core UI component. That is used to define the component.js. What is that which was used to test the component.js using index.html? Anybody in the first course? Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers. Good. I do remember. It was var o component container. SAP UI core dot component container, guys. And in this we give the name of the component, the namespace, and then we place this comp container to the body of HTML to test it locally. That's what we learned in the last course. What's the namespace for my component JS? It's just IBM. Let me come back here and put IBM. There was one more thing which we did to define this folder structure in the first course. What is the syntax I used in index HTML in the bootstrap? Anybody? What is the syntax I used in my first course to define this folder structure? When we started our first course, all the files, JS files, we used to group it under resource root folder. What was the syntax I used? Anybody? To define the folder structure for this Fiori app. Nobody remembers first course. Everybody become advanced experts. Deep has got the right answer. It was data SAP UI resource roots. So that we have given in the bootstrap data hyphen SAP hyphen UI hyphen resource roots equals to single quote curly braces, and in that we have given the path, the namespace. The namespace here is IBM, which represents the current directory, current working directory of index.html. This is what we did, guys, to define the folder structure for our app. All that from first course. Good. Now let's go ahead and test this whether it works or not. Now one simple reason I can say it will not work because there is no neo app.json. How do you know which server you are connecting to? Right? It will not work. But let's see. Let's see. I just go back and try to run this. It's already running. If you remember, we already started this with button. I press F12 and refresh this app. Let's see at least it loads the component or not. Click on refresh button and you see it's saying ocompcon.placeAt is not a function. Type error. So it is got failed here. .placeAt is not a function. It's not placed at, it is place at. I did a typo. Save this. Refresh. Now you see there is an error coming called container of undefined. Let's click on this and check which file it's throwing an error. It's throwing in model.js file line number 20. So let me go to model.js, line number control L, enter 20. It takes to line number 20. Here you see SAP U shell container is not there. System is unable to find U shell API because it only works with your local launchpad. So let's remove this and hard code the language to English. Let's see somewhere else also if they've used this U shell API. Yes, they have used here. I will comment out this also. Yeah, I commented out that also. So I just define this model, and in this model I give empty value. That's it. They are just defining a model which define it and give an empty value for this jam active. Save this. Let's come back and refresh again and see whether it works. This is critical, guys. Some companies are still using Eclipse, and if they ask you to develop an app from scratch, you should always start with WebID template. Bring that into your Eclipse. You can indeed use WebID from HANA Cloud Platform trial account and create a sample Fiori app there. And now you see it is throwing me some service error finally. And also there is one more error called visible property of some button into some view, I think. Let's see. It's in details view. Okay. It's in details view or somewhere else. Uncaught error is type string, expected boolean property visible for element button, work list share in jam. Okay. So I think there is a button which is saying some share in jam, and that is giving some error. Let's see where is the button. Share in jam. Let's see. Jam. Let me type jam. And you see share in jam. Here is your button. This is throwing an error. Let's remove this button. We don't need this right now. Save it. Let's refresh now once again. And now you see completely the error left out is with the service metadata. it's unable to load the OData service, guys, because there is no dispatcher and no new app.json which now controls your OData service integration. But hold on, we have help from Eclipse. We already talked about it in our previous course. It's called UI5 proxy servlet. So if you look at your JavaScript resources, SAP UI5 resources, you will find SAP provides some special resources for you to talk to the OData service server. Okay, you can see here server side libraries, and there was a resource called proxy servlet. Let me just show you. There is a proxy servlet which SAP provides us, through which we can talk to the OData service in the server without avoiding the CORS issue. So let me just show you the web.xml in web interface. So if you come here, you can find the proxy servlet with /proxy/star simple proxy servlet, and the path is com SAP UI5 proxy simple proxy servlet. So let's search here com SAP UI5. Simple proxy servlet. Where can I find that? Let me check. Com SAP UI5 proxy, and you can see here there is a simple proxy servlet class. So this class acts like a proxy. So you are talking in actually to your local server, and that local server, there is this class which is a servlet class. It's a server side program which redirects your call to the actual OData server. Okay, that's what it does for you. So this is ready-made. It's part of SAP UI5 library, specially designed for Eclipse purpose, so that you can talk to your OData service by avoiding the cross-origin resource sharing issues. This proxy class is present inbuilt. Yeah, so we can use this. Now, how does this class now know what is the name of your OData server? So your OData server has a URL, right? So if I just come to our OData server, main service, and launch the service first manually to show you what was the service name. I forgot. Let me just check. It was something called employee data, I guess. Yeah, employee list. This was the service. Let me call this service in the browser. Now you can see this is the service. So this is the URL of the service server. This URL is what we need to tell to our servlet, SAP UI5 servlet. So there is a setting which we have to do in web.xml file to tell this proxy servlet that you need to connect to this particular server. Okay, and for that you need to give a parameter. So let me show you how to do it. Let's copy this whole path and come back to this web.xml file, and here in web.xml file you have to provide context parameter, and in this context parameter you should have the parameter name and the parameter value. Parameter name and the parameter value. Parameter value is going to be your OData server address, and parameter name has to be, it should be fixed com.sap.ui5.proxy.remote location. This is the parameter name you have to give, guys, to tell the server, to tell your Eclipse and this servlet program that you need to remotely connect to this server as your backend. This setting you have to do. In WebID you have to create a destination file, but here in this Eclipse you have to tell this proxy servlet address. Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to also make one setting saying that this particular resource.dev mode equals to true, which means you are just doing a development right now. You are not using this for productive scenarios. You're just using it for your development scenarios. Dev mode is true. There's one parameter on the top, and this is what you need to define to tell your proxy servlet that this is my server with which I need to connect and run in the app into Eclipse. Now, how this proxy servlet gets triggered? Provided your URL starts with proxy slash. That's when this proxy servlet will be triggered by Eclipse, otherwise not. So your OData service URL has to start with proxy slash. So let's come to component.js where we have the OData service URL maintained. Here you see service URL and just maintain proxy slash so that this pattern will be matched by WebXML, and then WebXML, the moment this pattern match, proxy servlet will come into picture to send all the requests to this OData server. So proxy servlet will act like your dispatcher in case of Eclipse. Yeah. Now that's it. Let's come back and test our app. Refresh one more time. Okay, some problem. Maybe I close this and I close this as well, and I restart my web app preview one more time. Run as web app preview. Let's see what happens. So it should now bring in or patch in this proxy servlet into the picture. It should make a call to proxy servlet, and proxy servlet then should call all your OData calls to the actual server. And voila, you see it's giving you the password and username pop up this time to connect to that OData server which we have. Yeah, let me give the username password. So that's how the changes you need to do, guys, to make your app work into Eclipse. Okay, this is very important. This is how you make your app work. Now, again, nobody is stopping you to use Web IDE because it's your personal edition. You can make use of it. There is nobody who is stopping you. Now, there may be some problem, guys, because my server and my Eclipse are on different version. My server is supporting 1.24, but my Eclipse is supporting 28. So there may be some problem with data loading. It's not working, the data loading, but yes, I am able to connect to the server, and if I can just press F12 and show you the calls which are going from the Fiori app to the backend, you will see the calls are indeed going to pull in all the data which is required. So let me just show you the calls which are going to the backend. Yeah, so here if you just come down and see, you will see there's a call which is gone to read the metadata. You see, if I double click on this call, you can see it's showing me the service metadata and see localhost this. So all the calls are now going through proxy to avoid cross-origin resource sharing issues. This is how you can make your app work with Eclipse. Yeah. This is how you can do it. Now let's deploy this app. Since we have built this app now, let's deploy it. Our first app, now it's ready. Your team can start working on this. You have set it up everything correct. And if your team wants to get started with it, you can go ahead and deploy this into Git repository. So let's create an initial Git repository. So for that, I will go to github.com. Now remember, it's free of cost. There's no charge to set up a Git repository, but it will be a public Git repository. Anybody can look at your code. That's why for company purpose, they typically buy a Git account from GitHub, and then they will give you that Git URL. They will create a project for you. In that you can do a push and pull, and then will be restricted only to the users who are there in that group. Yeah. So right now it's public, so that's okay. We are doing training, so we can make use of it. Let me log in if I am not. See, already I've logged in github.com, and here I'm going to create a new project. So I just say start a project. I name this project as employee list project, employee list project. And now you see, if I want to make it private, I got to pay using my credit card. Yeah, so that's what your company has to do for you. They need to set up a Git account by paying to Git. $7 a month. That's the cost, and unlimited private repositories, and you can cancel anytime. If your company asks you to figure it out, you can tell them you need to pay $7 a month for that. If not, then maybe you can go with a public one. Let me create a public one so you all can now check out this project wherever you are in the world after I publish it into my Git. Yeah. Now, I would also say initialize my repository with a README file and create a repository. So this is the repository I'm creating now. A new Git repository is created with an empty file into it. Now let's click here, clone or download. And you see this is the URL for my Git repository, guys. I can copy this URL to my clipboard and go back to my Eclipse. And now here I have to basically load that repository information. So go to, it's inbuilt in Eclipse. The Git support is inbuilt in Eclipse. So now come here to window and say open perspective, other, and choose Git perspective. Yeah. Say okay. And you can see on the left, there's a Git perspective which is open. You say existing, you need to clone a Git repository. Click on clone. And now you see I have copied one path which has come here automatically. It has pasted from my clipboard automatically, this path. Yeah. Now I have to give my user, yeah, and my password. Let me see if it is correct. Say next. Yes, it's correct. And now it's going to create a branch. I told you there's a branch. In this branch you can do all the multiple changes, and this branch will keep track of all the changes you're doing to Eclipse, to the Git repository. So it also creates a local branch and a remote branch. Click on next. You can see initial branch's name is going to be master and remote name will be origin. Click on finish. And now what system is doing is really checking out this and showing me the Git repository. So I can also dock it on the bottom. So it'll be easy for me to look at my project and the Git, everything together. So you can also go to window, show view, and choose here other and choose the view as Git view. So you can see Git repository view I want to open, and you see down there this Git repository view. So maybe I just can adjust my windows as per my need. Yeah. So you can see all my Git repository. So it's an empty repository right now, guys. Okay. And if you look at the branches, it has two branches. One is for checkout and one for check-in. And then you can see also the local branch, the local branches over here, all the branches which are local and remote. So there's one branch called origin master in the remote, which is in the server, and there's a local branch called master, which is in the local system. I told you it's a distributed repository system. So you have a local repository and one actual repository in the server which everybody have an access. And this local repository only you have an access. It's in your local computer. Now, if I want to make all my files stored in my local repository, what is that I need to do? Anybody? What is that you need to do to store your changes in your local repository? Anybody? What is that you will do? In order to store the changes in the local repository, you need to do a commit. So let's try a commit now. So I right click here and say team. And first of all, I need to share this project with the Git repository, guys. So say share the project with the Git repository. Next. And now I got to choose my repository here. Okay. And I say finish. Cool. And now I need to do a commit. So right click, team, and say commit. And now I can also mention what changes I'm doing really. So it's my first project with Git initial setup for my team. Yeah. For my team, it's an initial setup. You can also click on this button to add a signature. You can see it has automatically added my name and signature over here. And you can also click on this button to add a change ID. Every change in Git is saved with a change ID, guys. So we just do a change ID. That also you can do it. Okay. Now, what are all the files you need to push? You can select all the files here and say commit. So commit and push means you're storing in local plus remote both. But you just do a commit, it's gonna store in local repository. So just say commit. All the changes are now stored and committed in your local repository. Yeah. So you want to see the history now. So it's pretty easy to check the history as well. So there is a view, guys, to check the history in the Git. So let me see here to see the Git history. So I go for show view, other, and I say history. And let me just say, sorry, I think I should select Git history. So window, show view, other, history. And oops, it's not really showing, guys. What's the problem? Do I need to choose the repository? Or maybe no problem. I just right click here and I say show in. Where is show in? Let me just see. Team. There is a way to look at the history, guys. Restore Java W tools, configure. Okay, maybe I got to right click here and say yeah. So here on the Git repository, you need to right click and say show in and history. So you can see, guys, the initial commit was done when we set it up the repository. It was done by author Anubhava BAP. And then I, as a local user, has made one change here. Yeah, I did a commit. And you see my master branch, this commit was done. And my current current branch pointer is head and master. Now I want to push this change to the server. So if you come to the server, which is remote server, git remote server, here you see those files will not come yet. Anybody, if I want to push my files to the server, what is that I need to do now? Anybody? What is that I need to do to send all the files to the server? We need to do a push, not commit. Commit we already did. It's now in the local branch. It's now in the local repository. So you can just right click on this change and say push. Where is the push? Push this commit. And then just select your URI for the Git repository. You see github.com. That's the place where my Git repository is there. I say next. Target reference name. What is the target reference? I want to push it to the master branch into the remote repository. That's the target. And I say finish. So now it's pushing my change into the remote repository. And you see my changes have been pushed. Click on OK. Go to the server and check if the changes have come or not. And you see there's this nice project created. In this, if you go in, you can see web content folder. And in this, if you go in, you see all the artifacts have come in. So congratulations, you have set up your Git repository and you are able to push all your changes, all your files, able to store it into the remote server. And now your family, your friends, your colleagues, everybody can consume it. Let me show you this real time. So let me copy this URL and give it to you. If you all have Eclipse or WebID in your computer, you all can follow me and this project will come to you as well. So I'm pinging this in the chat window to all of you. You can copy this, and if you have Eclipse or if you have WebIDE, you all can go to that. So let me go to my WebIDE in my local system. Right now just delete this Eclipse demo from here. I'm just deleting this project. And now I'm saying right click, git clone repository. Okay, in WebIDE I'm doing, guys, clone repository. And now just enter, paste the URL. That's it. Paste the URL and you got to enter your Git username password. So you can create a free Git account on github.com. and enter your username and password. Yeah, so I'm entering mine, saying remember me, and say okay, that's it. You will see uh, all the entire project will be now loaded from the Git to your local system. You see employee list project have come in. You can see it's got all the files now in your local system. Yeah, it's fine, got all the files. So you all can try that, guys. So I'll give you 2 minutes here, 2 to 3 minutes. Please create a GitHub account and try to check out the project. Yeah, and then we will make one change and see if our change reflects or not. I would recommend you to use Eclipse. If you don't have Eclipse, you can use WebIDE also. We can do the push from WebIDE also if we make a change. So our concern is not to learn here the UI5 development or Fiori development. Our intention here is to learn if we make a change, can that change be made available in the server? And how do I work with this Git repository basically? Can I make the changes? Can I push these changes back to the server? Will this change in the server? How will my commit will be created? How will the push happen? How can I resolve the conflicts? If at all there are some changes done by two developers parallelly, and if they're trying to push it, what happens? So all these things we are trying to explore. So here you have a break for 2 minutes. Please quickly create and check it out, the project into your Eclipse or WebIDE. So the first person who does, just let me know, and then we will try to play around. Multiple users will try to play around. So just let me know your user ID. I will add it to committers so that you can also make a commit to my Git repository. I will add you guys to the committer list so that you guys can also make. So Charu has already done. Thank you. So okay, you all are sharing your usernames. Now let me try to add your usernames into this team. You are now my team members. So let me see if I can just add the users. Go to settings. Can I just add collaborators? Yeah, here you can see collaborators. I just have to confirm my password to add collaborators to this project. So you guys can also work here. Let me just say add collaborators. So Charu, I have added you. Please guys, could you please ping your users? Okay, let me add everybody into the collaborator if you all have created your Git accounts. So you guys can really push now your changes actually if I add you guys as collaborators. So I think you are getting invitation links. Please accept it. So now you all are my team members. Yeah, you all are my team members in this project. So you all have become teammates, and now we all can make changes. Yeah, we all can make changes. So I have sent all of you the invitation. You got it? Yeah, Charu has got it. What about others? Have you guys got the invitation for accepting? And if you all have got it, then you all can check out the project and you can also do a push. Yeah, so maybe we'll see together. Okay, Charu has already accepted as well. Can you please check out the project, Charu, in the meantime, in WebIDE or into Eclipse, wherever you like. You can please check out the project. I showed you how to do that. Others, please accept. And then it will be good if you can, Charu, share your screen. We can see some real magic happening here and there. You make one change and then you push and you commit and push, and then I will pull and I will show you everybody that whatever changes she's doing will really come into my system also. Yeah, so that's what we want to see. So okay, 3 people have already accepted. I think it's good. Charu, can you please share your screen and unmute your line? Let's see how can we really work together as a team when we are working with single project. Yeah, so let me give you the presenter rights. Could you please unmute your line and share your screen with me? So everybody will be able to see now Charu's screen, and she will make one change into this one of the file of the project, and then we'll see. Okay, so she has got this repository here. So yeah, just click on employee list on the top. Yes, here. Perfect. So you will see the project. Now can you see the green color button, clone or download, green color button on the top left? Perfect. Click on that and here is the URL for the Git repository. Just click on that button over there next to it and you can copy. Copy to clipboard. There's a copy to clipboard button. You can also manually copy, not a problem. Yes, this button. Perfect. Copy this. Go to Eclipse or WebID, whatever you like. You can go to that. If your WebID is installed or your Eclipse is installed, yeah, you can go to Eclipse, no problem. So she's starting Eclipse and then we will see, you all guys can try that, same steps. So it's important to, do one change, submit the change and then, do one pull. And we all will see, parallelly together, whatever changes she will do, these changes will be made available to all of you at real time. Yeah, that's the power of Git repository. So let's see what happens. You can choose anything, whatever you like. You can create a new workspace also, not a problem. And then what we are going to do is we will, here in your Eclipse, we will pull now. Yeah. So one important thing guys, if even though I wouldn't have added you guys as collaborators, you would be able to pull and look at my code. You all can do that because it's a public repository. But since I added you guys as collaborators, you guys can also make the change to my files and submit it back to the system. Yeah, this is possible because now you guys are collaborators and you can also make a push to my repository because I made you collaborator. So as a public repository, anybody can do a pull, but they cannot change my files remotely. They can't change in the server. They can change in their local computer after checkout. They can, test that in the local system, but they can't change my files in the server. But since I added you guys as collaborators, you guys can really do that. So now she has opened it up. Good. So click on window. Perfect. Window, show view. In window, show view, and select other and choose Git. Just choose Git. So in WebID it is direct, right guys? In WebID it is direct. So maybe one of you can prepare for WebID. We will see your screen also and we'll try to do a push from WebID also. So click on Git repository view, Charu. Git repository, perfect. Click on OK. Now you will see a Git repository view. Yes, very good. Now can you clone? Yes, perfect. Clone a Git repository and it will automatically paste the whatever you copied there. Yeah, it is put. Now you got to give your username and password at the bottom. Perfect, very good. Just say store in secure store so that it will be stored. Very good. Say next. And now you will see a branch. Yes, that's the master branch. That's the branch name, guys. Perfect. Say next. And that's it. Cool. Now what it is just saying is it's going to create a local branch also, local repository for you. Say finish. So that's okay. We know that whenever you check out, it creates a local repository also. So it's now creating a local repository and pulling all the files from your system to this. Could not rename the file. Okay, fine. So click on OK. That's okay. That's just a normal error. Why it's not showing the repository now here? I don't know. We need to check. No problem. Just go ahead. We'll see again. It has already got it added, Charu, in your system. You can see employee list project have come in. So copy this path, copy the path which you see dictionary path. Can you see the dictionary path over there on top? C drive. Yes, copy this whole path. I think you wait, hold for a second. You got to create this repository in some other folder. Maybe your C drive is not the right place. So can you please change the path to D drive, D drive Git. Just go to your D drive. Or E drive. Yeah, create new folder here. new folder, Git folder. Yes, click on OK, select the folder, click on save, that's it. And now do a next. So what will happen now, it initializes a local repository and pulls in all the changes to this local computer. Perfect. Now it's just giving an ignore this error, say OK. Now click on add an existing local repository and browse the file. Browse the file which you have recently, browse the folder which you recently uh, stored it. Yes. Click on OK. No, you got to browse the folder, the Git folder, not the whole project. Up to the Git folder, that's it. Yes, click on OK. No, it's not coming. It's not coming. Okay, anyways, we will now just check out the project and do a push. Okay, forget about this. You will not get this in the bottom. What you can directly do is close everything and just go to your Eclipse and say import. Right click on Eclipse and say import. Yes, go on top, general project. No, no, not from Git. Existing project into workspace. Yes. So what has happened is when you were doing a pull from the Git, it has got the project already in your computer. Paste the path. E drive Git folder. Just enter E drive Git folder, or you can choose also. The project has come to your computer actually. Just got to browse and open the project. Why it's not showing? We saw the project have come, right? Yes, select this EZ. Yes, click on OK. Oh, why it's not showing? No project were found to import. How is that possible? Yeah, okay, maybe we will see maybe some problem in your system, Charu, with some settings. We will see it in the Deep's computer. So Deep has already done the import also. So Deep, I'll give you the rights. Maybe you can share your system. So I think Deep can share his system. Deep, can you please share your system? Perfect. We can see your screen. Please go ahead. So now you were able to import the project also, is it? Can you show us in Eclipse? Okay. And how did you do that? Can you please explain us quickly? So he went to directly to file, import. Okay, you directly did it projects from Git. Okay, fine. This is also fine. Now, the moment he does this, it initializes a local repository. Okay. Now, Deep, just go to one of the file and make some change. Go to one of the file, expand it and go to, let's say, view. And can you add a switch control in the first view? First view is work list view. Yes. Go to work list view. And now we see a table. Can you see a table on the top? On the top you see a table. Yeah. Above the table just add a switch control. So you guys saw that we don't have a switch control, and all our codes which we all have in our computer doesn't have a switch control. Just add a switch control. SWITCH. S should be capital. I know you are not used to XML views. So switch, just end the tag and save this. Now he has made one change, and this change we all can't see yet because it's in his local computer. Now what you do is just right click on the project and say team And can you see on the top, commit ... Just click on that. Did I add you as collaborator, Deep? I don't think so. Let me check. Click on OK. Click on OK. Let's see what happens. And now just make some comments. Make a comment that switch changes. So suppose you are a developer in my team and you want to make change. You made one change and now you are just trying to push this. Now can you also click on top? There's a pencil button which adds your name and signature. Yeah, perfect. Now click on commit and push. So you are now committing to local repository at the same time you're sending these changes to my server. Let's see what happens. See, it's asking username password for GitHub. Just enter your username password. Are you sure? Is that your username? I think it's Deep N. It's Deep N. It was not Deep hyphen Noida. It was Deep N. Can you just check your GitHub account?
No, that Deepen is only for Eclipse. Somehow it's coming there, but for GitHub is Deep Noida.
Deep hyphen Noida. Okay, let's try that now.
Yeah.
So try to push this change. I think I have not added you to the collaborators. Yeah, you are not collaborator. Let's see if you are able to push the change. Click on OK. See, not permitted. Yeah, let me add you as collaborator in my GitHub account. So let me just add it, Deep hyphen Noida. Yes, I got your user. I am adding you as collaborator. Can you accept the invite link? I've sent you an invite link on your email. Can you please accept that?
Oh. Okay.
You must have got an email now from me. Yes, just accept it. Please hold on. It will take you to a GitHub screen to accept. Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Now just try to push the change. So I added you as collaborator. Just try to do a commit. I think commit has already been done. So what you need to do is, that's okay. Just pass on this.
Okay.
Now right click.
So
Team.
no changes. Oh.
Yes, yes. You want to change the last commit. Yes. Click on right click. Again, I want to change the last commit. That's correct. You're going good.
Okay.
Say commit.
Commit.
Yes, I want to amend the last commit. Yes. So you see, this is your last commit change. And now you say commit and push.
Okay.
So you have added a switch into it. Okay, it's rejected. Why it is rejected? So what has happened is it has created a local commit. Okay, now this local commit we have to actually push it. Okay, how do we do it? Click on OK. Go to window, show view. On the window on the top, show view, Git, other Git. Git repository. Click on OK. You will see a view for Git repository. Can you see down there? This is our project. And you can see there is an up arrow 1, which means there is one commit which is done in the local repository, but it has not been updated in the server. Expand this node.
Where it is?
Yeah, same thing, employee list.
Okay.
And can you expand the branches?
Okay.
And you see there's a the local branch, which is master S1. Now right click on employee list cylinder and say show in history. On the top, there is a cylinder, employee list, yes. Right click on that and say show in history. What does it mean? It will show you what changes you've done. And you see here, switch case changes. This is the change which you have done, which is being done on the local repository. Can you see master there and head there, which means that's your local change. And what is origin master branch? That is the branch which we have created at the beginning, that is in the server. Now your server is different at different level and your local changes are at different level. That's called distributed repository system. So in your local system, you have switch case changes, which we don't have. It's purely local to your system. And in the server, everybody will see my commit, which is origin master. That's the server state. Now, the moment its origin master will come on top, the server will be same as your local change. So right click on the topmost change which you have done, switch case change. Right click on that. This is your commit name actually. And now do a push commit. So we are now trying to push this commit, guys, into the system. Say next. Just say next. And say M. M means master. So which branch you want to push this commit into the server? It has read out the branch name. Say master. So you should select master. So this is the branch in the server we are making a commit to. Finish. Now it's rejected. Why still? What is rejecting?
Arnav, there's a red cross on my project name here, Z employee list.
Sorry?
Is that the reason? There's a red cross on my project name when I imported it.
No, that's not the reason. You're already part of collaborator. Why are you not able to push the change? Let me check. Just give me a second. Is there any other setting which I need to do? No. I think every change which you want to push deep, you have to have a commit ID for that. I think that's the reason why you are not able to do. Let's give one more try. So what you need to do is right click on your project. Say team and select the first option again. Commit dot dot. And say yes. Now can you click on the next button which is next to the pencil button? There is a green color small icon there. Yes, click on that.
Yeah.
Yes, click on that please. Now it has created change ID now. See. And then you do commit and push. Let's try with this. I think it should work. No, master rejected, non fast forward. What is the issue? Push to employee list origin. Click on configure button. Please click on configure button. Now you see ref mapping is empty deep, which means it doesn't know where to sit in the server. Click on add button. And now click on remote branch and choose master there. Click on force update. Click on OK. So this is one time effort, guys, which you all have to do for your projects. Click on save and push. Let's see. Voila, done.
Yeah.
So you all guys can now right click and pull your changes. Let me share my screen and show you guys what happens. Deep has successfully made one change now. So what will happen now is when I do a pull, I can see whatever Deep has done actually. So let me just share my screen, guys, with all of you and show you what has done. So right now, if you see my system, hope you all can see my computer, guys. Yes or no? Yes, okay. So now you see in my system, I have my master, which is local branch, and I have my origin master, which is the server branch at same place. But I don't see the changes done by Deep yet, but I can actually see it in the GitHub. So in the server, he has made one change. And if I just refresh in the server for this repository, I can see the change which he has done. Let me just go and check. How can I really see that? So can we see? Yes. Can you see 3 commits? Click on commits. This is the commit on the server actually. So initial commit, switch case change. See the change done by Deep 10 minutes ago. That's how the Git repository keep track of changes done by each developer. So I know who has made one change to my system, my repository now. And now how to get these changes, guys? how to get these changes in my local computer. Deep is a developer working in my project. He has made one change. How to get these changes in my local computer? Can anybody tell me what is that I need to do to get the changes from remote Git repository to my local Git repository? What is that I need to do? Anybody? What do you do to get the changes? You need to do pull. Perfect. Rebase is required in case you have done change in the same file. That's when the rebase is required. Okay. So it's always recommended that you do rebase, not just pull, so that if at all there are conflicts, it will automatically resolve. But with that case also we will see now. But right now, let me come to my Eclipse and right click on my project and say team, and I just say fetch from upstream, or I can also do pull. Yeah, I do fetch from us upstream or pull, both are same. So let me do fetch from upstream, and you will shortly see guys, that's it. You see I have got a change from Deep now. This is the change which Deep has done into the work list view. He has made one change, and I can see that switch case change he has done, it has come in, and that's origin under slash master. Yeah, this is the server side branch which has been read out. So my server branch is this, and my local branch is still here. Okay, my local branch is still here. So if I now just go to the view and show you the work list view, I don't see the changes yet. You see, I still don't see the changes done by Deep yet, because what I've checked out right now is this one, master branch, which is head. My head is here. This is what it is showing me. So I need to now move my head to the topmost branch. I need to rebase on this. So right click here and click on rebase on. The moment I do this, you see my master local repository is now in synchronization with server side. Okay. And now you can see the switch which Deep has done change is now available in my local computer. So rebase is required to see the changes when you pull the changes. After you pull the changes, you need to rebase to the latest branch. Now my local repository branch master, the server branch master, origin master, and head, which with head is means current checked out branch, all are at same place, and I can see the change made by Deep. You all can do a checkout or fetch from upstream or pull or rebase, you will see the changes. So if I just directly do rebase, it will pull also and it will rebase also. But I first did a pull and then I did a rebase manually. Ideally, you all should do a rebase. Okay, a rebase. Now let's do one thing. We will increase a conflict situation. So Deep, can you please make one change into the server? Okay, and I will also make change into the same file. So Deep, can you please make a change into the work list.view and just add a button?
Okay.
Okay, just add a button, and at the same time I'm sharing my screen guys. I am going to add here a text link control. Yeah, text link control. So I have made one change guys to my local file. Somebody has deleted, is it? Did somebody delete? Anybody, have you deleted this file? I can see it saying deleted. I don't know, it's a remote repository system, we can check that indeed. Okay, no problem. So I made one change in the file worklist.view and I added a text link, and Deep is also making one change into the same file. We want to see a conflict situation where two developers make change in same file. What happens and how do we resolve such conflicts? So Deep, if you're done with making a button change, can you please do a
Yeah.
commit and push so that the changes will come into the remote repository? Can you please do a commit and push?
Yeah.
So let's see. After Deep will push the changes, I will see the Deep's changes here. So can you please do a commit and push Deep? And
Doing
once
that.
done, just let me know.
Yes.
So let's refresh. If he has done the change, we can see. Yes, you can see
Yeah,
he has
done.
already submitted the change, button change he has done. And now I am another developer in the same team. The moment when I checked out, these changes was not there. And I made the change in a file in which these changes was also there. Okay. So now what happens? A conflict comes. We are making change in same file. So let's go and see the situation now. What happens? So Deep has made one change in one file. I also made the change, but I have not submitted my change yet to the server. In the meantime, Deep has made the change in the same file. What will happen? Conflict happens. So when I try to submit in the server now, server will say somebody else has changed this file already. Your changes cannot be merged. So you need to pull and refresh. So let me show you that situation now. So, okay, just give me a minute. So I go back to Eclipse and now I try to update my changes. Deep has also made one change to it. So what I'll do is the moment I try to submit this change, right click, team, commit, my changes where Deep also made change. Yeah. And I'm just saying my changes. I'm signing in here and also generating a commit ID and say commit and push. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Watch carefully. Let's see what happens. So I'm trying to make a change in which when I checked out the file, it was in this only switch state was there. But now when I'm trying to push, the file is already changed and you see cannot open git receive pack. Okay, this is a git error actually. But now let me try to push this branch which I've created my changes where Deep changes also made changes. I just try to push this commit guys into the server and let's see what happens. Server will not allow me because when I checked out the file, Deep's changes were not there. But when I'm pushing my changes, Deep changes are also there. Server will not allow me. See, it has rejected my changes. Why? Because now in the server, the version of the same file is different because Deep has made his change in the same file. So I need to do a rebase and then do a push. So let me right click and do a team and do a pull or fetch from upstream. Okay, so I'm doing a fetch from upstream. You can see Deep's changes also have come. So my changes are currently checked out and let's see where are Deep changes. I don't see the button changes here actually. But where is my origin master also I don't see. I think I can't see the branches yet. So if I just see here, yes, now I can see. So you need to click on this nice button here to see all the changes. So you see button changes done by Deep is in origin master. I made one change. So we both started our changes on switch case change. So Deep started one change on this. I started one change in this. So there are two different nodes which are created in the branch. Now I need to rebase. So right click and just do a rebase or you can do a merge also. So just do a merge. I want to merge these changes, say okay. Why it is not merging? Let me see. Maybe I just do a rebase on. Okay, sorry, I have to right click the origin branch guys and do a merge with that. So let me just do a merge and you see now what system did. System has added my code and system has also got the code added by Deep. You see button code. Both have come. So this is how we can now compare what change I want to keep. So this is Deep's change and this is my change. And we both I can compare now what I want to keep. So head means whatever I did. And here you see origin master change means whatever Deep did. So I can now just do this. I can keep Deep's change also and I can keep my change also. And this is my final state. I save this and then I right click on my change and I say push the commit to the remote repository. Finish. Okay, still it's not allowing. I think I have to right click and let me see guys. How can I merge these two changes? That's what I'm trying to check. So there are two, still it is showing two branches. We both started at this place and Deep has created one version, I created one version. This is what we have in server. So I need to rebase on actually on this. No, that won't help. I have to take my changes as final changes and update in the server. So now this is the final state. I have already adopted these changes by doing merge, but now I need to see, can I just update it in the server? Create a patch, no, right click, say next, master, and I should say force update, finish. Yes, you can see guys, I have to do force update and now final changes are gone to the server. Let's go back to the server and see what is the state. So let's come back to the server, my GitHub server. So what I did is I did a merge wherein I got these changes and my changes together. I adapted accordingly and then I do a force update and then my changes are pushed on top of these changes. So you can see my changes were done and these changes are also done. This commit has been pushed to the server. Now, can anybody share their screen, maybe the third person, and show me whether both of our changes have reached to your system or not? So maybe Rupa, can you please share your screen? Are you ready, Rupa? Will that be okay? If you can share your screen, do you have Eclipse? Or anybody else would like to volunteer? Anybody? Would you like to show your screen? I'll give you the presenter rights and you can show whether both of our changes are available to you in your system. Anybody? Nobody has Eclipse? Nobody has? Or Shri can? Okay, let me just give access to Shri. Or maybe guys, let me show you in web ID. Okay, let me go to web ID. So this is our web ID. I'll do a pull in web ID. Yeah, well, let's see with web ID. We didn't saw that. So I right click on the project now and I say git and I say pull. Yeah, I say pull, and when I do a pull, you can actually see here the pull is must be running. I think it would have finished. So let's go to the view, the work list view, and you can see the switch here and the text link also is there. But where is Deep's change? Where are the buttons? I think they are lost. Somehow these changes are lost, done by Deep. But when I updated it, I had button, text link and switch. All three things were there. This is my master, head and origin master also, right? Why it's not visible in web ID, all the change? Not sure. Why the button is not available here? Let me just do a pull again. No. Can you guys confirm? Shri, can you please confirm if you have got the change, which I did and Deep did, the button and text link both? Can you please confirm if it is there? Yeah, please check it. But in web ID, I don't see. What is the problem? Why can't see it in web ID, both the change? And maybe I'll make a change from web ID now and show you guys how to push this change. So let me add new control here, maybe a new list control, save this. And now in web ID it's easy, you have made one change, you clicked on save and now you just select this change, say from web IDE to Git. And now I can just say scroll down and I say commit and push to the origin master branch. That's it. Done. I think the changes have gone to the Git repository. So let me just come and check in the Git repository if the changes have come from my web ID also. Refresh. No, it's not. It has not come. Why? Why it doesn't come? Where is my commit? Okay, there is an error coming, guys. Cannot open the Git receive pack. There's maybe some password issue with my Git. Maybe let's Shri share his screen. Yeah, maybe let me make him presenter. Can you please share your screen, Shri? I've given you the presenter rights. So please share your screen. Yeah, we can see. Have you got both of our changes? No? Okay, he has also not got. I think the changes did not get merged properly. That's why the changes haven't reached yet to the Git. So you did a pull. Okay, everything is up to date. Okay, can you make one change now and do a push? I think I already give you the push rights. Just make one change and do a push. Delete all our code. Delete all the 2 lines of code which we have. Delete that, yeah. Okay, save this. Right click, team. Push to upstream also you can do right click. Yeah, you can do right click, push to upstream. Okay, you are also don't have permission to update. I think you are not collaborator. I didn't add you. What is your ID? Ping me your ID, please. You are already there.
Yeah.
Okay, select here the remote branch. Why it is not showing your changes? Why can't it allow you to do a push? No. I'll tell you 1 second. Right click on your cylinder. Say show in history. I want to see what changes you've done. So here you can see your master origin is, so this is the master origin, guys, and you have made one change on top of it by merging the branches. I don't really get what you're doing here in this. Have you not did a commit first after making the change?
Okay, let me do that.
Yes, you have to do, select your file, test. You didn't do commit. You're directly trying to push the change. You have to do a commit and push together. Okay, great. Now select the file and say commit and push. That's it. There is some problem.
Shall I? Save and
Please go
push?
ahead. Please
Save
go
and
ahead.
push?
Yes. Force update. It's not going. There is some problem. Fail to push in origin. Git receive pack not permitted. I don't know what is this error. First time I'm getting this. Okay. So maybe now I think you guys have got enough idea about how to work with Git, how to set up an empty repository with your first time project and how to get the developers added to the Git account and then also work with multiple developer with the same project. So our idea is not to learn UI5 development here. Our idea was to see Git changes. What is pull? What is push? What is merge? Yeah, all these things we saw. What is rebase? How to rebase? So when you make a local change and there is a change done on the server, when you do a pull, your branches are out of sync. The server branch is different than the local branch. So you have to do a rebase to the server branch. Yeah. So all these things we saw in about Git in today's session. So this is what is important. It is nothing much, but it's just a repository which stores your code until your code finally becomes productive. That's what the Git is. And once your user decides, once your team lead decides, yes, I have all my changes done in the system, everything looks okay, then what they can really do is they can deploy it in the SAP Fiori system, development system, and release the transports. So you are not going to do every single small change in a transport. You will put it into Git. That's what happens in real time in every company. They use a Git repository. All the team members work with Git on day-to-day basis, and on the day of end of sprint or end of probably a week or end of working day, last working day of the month, they deploy the changes in SAP system in a transport, and they release the whole project at once. Yeah. So with that note, it's a wrap on today's class. In next class, we'll talk about workflow integration with Fiori, and then suit KPI tile, and then we will also talk about how to copy OData service project from one system to another system, an easy technique for doing that. So see you on the next class. Any questions?
Anubhav,
Yes.
Anubhav, there's just one little question. How do we do the nomenclature of custom projects generally?
Typically, it should start with Y or Z. And then if it's an extension project, it should be Z or Y, and then your actual project name, which you are enhancing, and then extension at the end. That's how we do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But it also depends on team to team, which team you are working, which company you're working. It depends on that also.
Okay. Okay.
So that's it for the day. See you tomorrow. We'll see some more interesting topics. Thank you so much. Goodbye.